come from the pit wall. They're doing last-minute changes. You were spotting there's a lot of dry patches appearing.
Yeah, a lot of dry patches, and you can see a lot of these guys still got a little bit before the race starts, 10 or 15 minutes, and the track's already drying really quick. The wind's blowing. You see a lot of guys right now with the tires off the bike, like not making a decision just yet. But I see a lot of guys that had green tires on their bike to do that warm-up lap, sighting lap. When they leave the pits, that first sighting lap, to be able to look at the track, at least have the green tires on, because that's a little bit of a safer option. If there is puddles, see Mathew Scholtz's crew carrying his green tires back and putting new tires on. So I think a lot of guys that went out on that sighting lap just to check the track probably had green tires and said, hey, look at it drying. You can see the front straightaway, how dry it is. The green tires are really, really soft. So for the Superbikes with that top speed, if the straightaway is really dry, in the middle can even start to come apart because of the speeds.
And Josh said yesterday, Josh Hayes, I'm talking about, and yes, it was Super Sport, not Superbike, but that he made sure and went out and did two pretty hard installation laps or sighting laps, and he said it scuffed those tires up a little bit better. Then it cooled, which can harden them just a little bit. That an option here?
Well, I think now with the track being dry, if you were going to go with the rain tire, you'd want a brand new one.
Yeah.
Just in case they have all the tread. I do know some guys this morning struggled a little bit on their opening laps on rain tires, just kind of getting that grooved. And after 2 or 3 laps, they felt pretty good using the tires they used in the warm-up in the race.
Okay. Interesting.
And other classes when it's really wet, so the tires buffed in a little bit.
Right. Well, and that's, all kinds of options here. And then we heard in Super Sport, do you think anybody would do that mix with a rain front and a slick rear?
I don't believe so. I think if anybody's going to go with one, they're just going to go, just make the call for both ends and go for it. But it looks really dry. There is going to be puddles in some places, but right now, just looking out the window and looking at all the bikes and stuff, it just looks like everyone, I think, will be on somebody might take a big gamble. Somebody in the back, row 4 or whatever, might use green tires and hope that it starts pouring during this race. But for the most part, I just feel like everybody would be on slicks.
It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. That's for sure here. And we're seeing still lots of activity out there in terms of tires and making all kinds of adjustments and getting ready here for what is going to be the last race of 2023 for MotoAmerica's Medallia Superbike Championship. And it should be something else on this damp but quickly drying track. So it is time for us to get ready for this one to go. It is always a pleasure for me to introduce for our national anthem Reverend Mark and Don Miracle. And folks, it is beautiful.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
as always, absolutely wonderful by Mark and Don Miracle. And we are closing in on the start for the last time this year of Medallia Superbike. We had horrendous heat in COTA. We've had absolutely challenging cool rain here, and it is about to come to fruition. The championship will be wrapping up in short order. And of course, the question is, who's on what tires for this final round of the championship? Jake Gagne is champion, but it is contract time. It is off-season motivation time. There is so much still to play for, and Medallia Superbikes, the big guns, are about to take to the track. Ladies and gentlemen, for the call, for the last time this year, Greg White and Jason Pridmore. Guys.
The final one for 2023 is here, and it's been a season of highs and lows. As the fastest riders in the U.S. line up to do battle one last time, all eyes are on the number 1 plate. To the stripe, Gagne takes the checkered flag. Can Gagne capture his 12th of the season, or will someone get a good start and block his progress?
Maybe try to get a win and keep hunting down Gagne.
We find out right now. It's time for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. This round is MotoAmerica Superbikes at New Jersey for our final round of 2023 and our final race of Medallia Superbike here in Millville at New Jersey Motorsports Park, also known as NJMP. As the riders get ready, we welcome you to the broadcast and the broadcast booth. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time national champ Jason Pridmore. Now, Jason, it's been a very interesting weather weekend here at New Jersey. On Friday, it started off nice and dry. Jake Gagne was fast, and the rain comes out, and he smokes everybody again. And now here we are at very difficult racing surface.
Yeah, we don't know what to really go with now because the weather's continued to get better today. Had a little downpour about an hour ago. We've had a race since, but the track from our where we're looking is starting to get dry. So there's going to be some tire options, I think, here for the riders coming up ahead of this race.
It's going to be very tricky, but tricky conditions yesterday, but in a different way than today. Here's race 1.
Yeah, you can see yesterday was absolutely full wet, and Jake Gagne got off to a very nice start here. As you see, Josh Herron was chasing him down early with JD Beach, who did a really nice job getting from third row on the grid. But PJ Jacobsen was the man on the move. He would go past JD Beach first. He would eventually catch up to Herron and go underneath him as they went down into turn 10. And for the majority of that race, Greg, he kept Gagne honest. However, that pass that you saw there was done under a waving yellow flag. And for the majority of that race, they were trying to get him pulled in. Mathew Scholtz late in the race ran off on the exit of turn 4 and ended up tipping off by the time he got to the inside of 5. But Jake Gagne didn't know anything was going on behind him. He just kept his nose down, nose looking straight ahead, wins the race. PJ Jacobsen actually came across second. He'd get relegated to 4th, and it would be JD Beach second and Corey Alexander with his best result and first Superbike podium of his career.
So that is number 11 and 40th of his career in Medallia Superbike. And he wins 3 consecutive Superbike championships. Now, Jay, 407 points. Only the 3rd Superbike rider with 400-point-plus seasons. He's done it twice. That 11 wins and 18 podiums, and he still has more points that he could possibly get today. Jake Gagne is an absolute stud, running the number 1 plate. And the 3rd member of our broadcast team is Hannah Lopa, and she is on the grid with Jake Gagne right now.
It has been an incredible season, to say the least, for Jake Gagne. After a really incredible ride by him yesterday in the wet conditions, Jake, do you have an expectation for your performance in these mixed conditions right now?
Yeah, it's tricky right now. The track's drying pretty quick, but there's some pretty wet spots still. So, yeah, we'll just see what happens. I think it might be mixed on tire choice. So go have some fun and enjoy this last race of the year. Try to put on a show.
Sounds like a plan, guys.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When he talks about mixed, Jay, the only real option, because we don't have intermediate tires, is going to be maybe a full rain front and a slick rear.
Yeah, and that could be the option It's just going to be a hard one. It's going to be a matter of who wants to take a shot, who wants to take a chance. We've had the sun breaking out, which is obviously going to put a little heat in the track. The wind has died down a little bit, though. I think that a lot of the riders would like to see a little bit more wind. That would dry the track up a little bit more. But there are still some streams going across the track. Hannah, who do you have?
Corey Alexander coming off his career first Superbike podium yesterday. And Corey, what's the plan for today?
We're still trying to figure it out. This weather is throwing a curveball at us. Obviously the track's pretty dry, but it's still very wet in a couple spots. So we're running out of time to make a decision. I think we're going to roll on what we've got, but it'll be an interesting race, that's for sure.
And stay tuned. I'm going to see what Dunlop's got down for everyone for tires here shortly.
Yeah, that's going to be really important information because somebody may roll the dice and go full slick. But, Jay, let's take a look at NJMP. It's the shortest racetrack we have on the Medallia Superbike racing circuit.
Yeah, let's talk about where the wet patches are that these riders are talking about, Greg. It's very wet going down into turn number 1 right now, so we do know that. Over some of the elevation through turn 2, it's going to start to dry up in those areas. And then, of course, we usually have a stream down in 3 that we have to worry about. And then again in 5, on the entry to 5. As you go through turn 6 down to 7, that's a little bit downhill. That'll start to dry a little bit up through 7, 8, 9. But then again in turn 10, more importantly, the exit of 10, where that patch is, exactly where they're at right here on our screen. Then through the S's and onto that front straightaway. I think with the length of the race being 16 laps, I don't know how much you're going to give up at the beginning if you're not on reins. That's the biggest thing, is that the roll of the dice will be, am I willing to give up 15 or 20 seconds on the first 2 or 3, 4 laps of this race in order to try to make it up at the end of it?
Going to be a very tricky race. Well, American Flat Track full-timer JD Beach is here in attendance, and the now Medallia Superbike racer in his last appearance in 2023 is going for another podium. Can he get that done?
All right, great look there at the number 95 at JD Beach, and look at that. He's got reins on the front for JD, so that's going to be interesting here. And, of course, what's going on? That is Mathew Scholtz. Those are slicks, Roger.
Those are slicks, and let's see if we can keep going. Gagne with the reins as well.
Wow, that's interesting. They had that thing, reins for PJ as well. They had on Gagne's bike, they had those things packed, warming them up. Would you want to, on this kind of a track, superheat your reins?
Well, I think that they just know what they're getting into, and the riders, this is where it comes really important for the rider. See, us looking at the window, it looks really dry,
right?
And that's what the crews see. Doing that sighting lap and coming back and giving your guys that crucial information of, hey, you know, this is what the track looks like, and let's make a decision. But Mathew Scholtz, obviously, right now, thinks the best decision for him is going to slicks.
Well, you know, the interesting thing is he's got the opportunity here. You know, he may drop back a number of spots here potentially, but if it doesn't rain and if this track really continues to dry, Roger, he could become, relative to everybody else, absolute rocket ship here, trying to look. Oh, slicks on Josh Herron as well. So the dice are being rolled for a few guys, and Jake Gagne was doing some serious scanning of who around him is on what. And I'll tell you, these mixed conditions, they generate opportunity. Looking back in the pack.
And Lampkin has rain tires on.
Yep, sure does. So everybody opting for it's a mix here for sure. Take a look at this. Just a minute ago, see Jake looking all right.
Yeah, you want to know what your competitors are on. If a guy comes past you early on the race, you're going to want to know, are we on the same tires or is he on a different strategy?
All right, so, and Mathew Scholtz taking it pretty easy off the line here. I mean, and at this point, Roger, if you want to start in your qualifying position, you're committed to these tires, right?
Yeah, right now there's no way if you pulled in and you changed or whatever, you would have to start on pit lane, and you know you can't change tires in MotoAmerica.
So there you have it, folks. What they've got is what they're racing with right now. And this is it. Final race of the 2023 season for Medallia Superbike. It's coming up.
Medallia Superbike coverage is brought to you by Medallia, the pioneer in customer and employee experience. By Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. And by Geico Motorcycle. Visit geico.com to see how easy covering your ride can be.
Well, we're back at New Jersey Motorsports Park for the beginning of race number 2 of Medallia Superbike for the weekend. And the track has got some wet areas on it, some water running through, but some dry areas. So the big question mark for the three of us in the broadcast team is what are riders? Wait a second. I just saw Mathew Scholtz going full slicks, and I saw him almost crash.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a sticker tire on the front. He's on full slicks. Who else, Jay?
Josh Herron, full slicks. So they're just rolling the dice, taking a shot. I just worry that they're going to lose too much at the beginning, that even if the track gets dry, the guys on wets are still going to be able to hold on. So it's a tough decision, but as you get a look at the starting grid here, PJ Jacobsen's going to lead us off with Jake Gagne and Mathew Scholtz, Escalante, Bobby Fong, and Josh Herron, the other guy, like I said, that is on slicks. JD Beach, Posh, Mesa, Gillum, Benjamin Smith, and Ashton Yates. Back to row 5, Corey Alexander, Lampkin, De Silva, Flinders, Arango, and Danilo Lewis. And you know, the thing is, Greg, is that, like, even on the straight, if you look right now, Mathew Scholtz is going to come to the front of this grid. He's got to kind of go down the middle, because on the far left-hand side, on PJ's side of the grid, it's wet. And on the inside of the track, it's wet. So he's got to try to find himself a nice spot in the middle of the track on the first lap. And the other thing, he's going to be sitting up a little bit earlier than most too, probably just for the braking. So, yeah, roll the dice. Final race of the year. See what happens.
All right, the number 11, number 2 on full slicks. At least we know. Here we go. Medallia Superbike race number 2, the finale of the season. And we're away racing, and Mathew Scholtz off the line well as Jake Gagne, the number 1. He's out front right now as they get on the brakes heading into the corner. It's going to be PJ Jacobsen who takes over the early lead. And it looks like most people got through as, oh no, one rider having a big problem.
That's Benjamin Smith. Yeah, it looked like his bike stopped, and you can see also, what a start, 5th row. Corey Alexander, I think, is up to 4th. I believe that's Corey Alexander in 4th place. PJ Jacobsen at the front, and then he's got the attack guys right behind him, Gagne and JD Beach, with Corey Alexander running in 4th, and I think it's Hayden Gillum has got a problem. He started on a wet front and a wet and a dry. You see he's got a slick on the rear. There's Benjamin Smith, who had our problem right off the bat. Looked like his bike did something on the exit of turn 1.
So Tyler Cycles on the BMW M1000 RR. That's a 2023 bike. PJ Jacobsen leading the way, and looks like Josh Herron, who was on the full slicks. And he's whoa, he's trying to get that thing turned. That's the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati. Of course, that livery, as you see, the front of that bike smashed up. That's the Mount Airy Casino Resort Spa in the Poconos.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, that's a shame, because that was a roll of the dice I thought would pay off.
His airbag has gone off, and you're going to see it's just going to be on the exit or just coming in. It's quite wet on the way into there. And, yeah, that was a big chance. It just didn't work out, but, hey, you got to try that sometimes, and glad to see he's up and okay.
So back up front we go to the 99. After the first lap, a 36.9 for him, PJ Jacobsen. And then you have JD Beach right there as well in 3rd place. And Jay, you're right, it's Corey Alexander. Runs a little bit wide, has to get off the throttle just for a moment. But Corey Alexander coming off that podium, chasing JD Beach yesterday. The difference here is these were the 4 that were leading yesterday, but the 99 of JD Beach, of course, had that penalty.
Yeah, that's right. And these are the hard conditions, really, really hard conditions, because when you're on wet tires on a drying track, you're going to feel every movement underneath you that these tires are going to give you. So obviously in really, really wet conditions, these are the absolute best tires to be in. I'm sure these guys are on a harder option wet tire as it is, because they're going to need the durability of this tire, because probably in about 5 or 6 laps from now, Greg, it's going to continue to just dry up. And they're going to be looking for some places on the track to cool these tires off. And you get a squirming feeling underneath you as Mesa looks like he's had an off as well. I'm not sure if that bike broke. He looks clean. So it looks like the bike just had a problem for Mesa. So another one of the Tyler's bikes that are out there is out of this race.
There were 3 that began the race. Of course, the leader, PJ Jacobsen, and 4th place, Corey Alexander. All the riders for the first time this season on the 2023 M1000RR.
And this morning it was a Tyler's 1-2 in wet conditions. They've continued to make that bike better for Corey Alexander. We knew PJ had that pace already, but for this young man here, this is the 2023 BMW that he is getting to ride for the first time all season. And they had some problems set up for the first day and a half. They found something last night, or 2 nights ago, Friday night, that kind of helped Corey be able to finish the corners a little bit more. And now he's able to see these leaders, the guys that he's been wanting to race with all year, are right there in front of him. So, and they've opened up quite a gap as you look back there, Greg, as JD Beach has the fastest lap of the race. How about Richie Escalante, 5th? He's been he's struggling a little bit this weekend. He's 6 seconds back of Corey Alexander. So the 4 in front have made a definite impact early in this race.
All right, so you have PJ Jacobson, the 99 on the Tyler Cycles BMW, and then you have the 2 fresh and lean progressive Yamahas. The number 1 plate, of course, is Jake Gagne. The 95 is JD Beach, who's still filling in for Cameron Peterson, who's expected to be back with this program. Nothing is on paper yet as to what's going to happen for the next season for these riders. Did
you see PJ already looking for some damp patches there?
Yeah,
so
I did
it's
see that.
really early. So let's see where Mathew Scholtz is. He's 13th. He did a 46.4 to a 35.6 of PJ Jacobson. So he's still 11 seconds a lap off right now. But you can tell Gagne as well. Also, the tires, Greg, what they do is they feel really spongy underneath you, and you got to. That's where you got to be careful. You literally got to know that when you're going to go over that patch, you have got to be careful going over it. And again, I really attribute that save to his size. I mean, Corey being a taller guy, he's going to be able to let that bike move around a little bit more underneath him. So big save for Corey.
And he'll know better next time, as Corey's already starting to try to find some puddles as well to cool those tires down. Another look at it. Yeah,
this is the patch everybody knows about. This is the one place on the track where you just got to chill out ever so slightly. Look at Gagne go through there, nice. And Corey still had a lot of lean angle going through that, and you literally can't do anything. You just got to just roll through that area.
Yeah, Corey got his knee on the ground, like it's slammed on the ground. You can see from these 2 riders, both Alpine Stars riders, it looked like JD Beach. Yeah, he gets by his teammate, but you can see those extra large knee pucks they have for these conditions. Normally, the knee puck they use is about half the thickness, and they're not really getting him down on the ground, but Corey slammed it there.
I never actually say this, but it's for the first time I might ever say this. Jake just doesn't look as comfortable as he probably would like to feel on these tires in these conditions, because it is dry, Greg, and if this race was a 20-lap race, I think some of the tire choices would have been a little bit different. I think more guys would have probably gone on slicks, because you can still see some of those wet patches, but now Corey's going to draw up on the back of Gagne as JD Beach goes and tries to take after PJ Jacobson. PJ, again, very wide through that right-hand turn 9 just now, so he is definitely looking for places to try to let that bike cool. Now all these riders are going around that patch.
That was definitely different. JD Beach makes the pass for 2nd place, and as he comes across the stripe, we'll see if he's able to chip into PJ Jacobson's lead, Hannah.
Greg, JD Beach likes this track a lot, and he said it did take some time to get used to riding in the rain again. He hasn't since MotoAmerica in 2019. I asked him just about his dirt track background, and he said it's kind of different because you're used to the bike moving around quite a bit more on you, and once you're here on a road racing motorcycle, you don't really want your bike moving around that much on you, and sometimes by the time you feel those wheels spinning up, it's a little bit too late. So it's kind of trying to find that balance and really find where the limit is, but he's definitely got a pretty good understanding just from his past experience.
Yeah, and make no mistake, when he goes from American flat track to MotoAmerica road racing, these days with an American flat track machine, the electronic sophistication it's very sophisticated on flat track. So when you get here, there's the number 2 of Herron. He's going by. By the way, JD Beach keeps setting fastest segment times as he's chasing down PJ Jacobson.
And really quick, the last time through 36.2. Mathew now is at a 38.6, but he's 35. Mathew Scholtz, but he's 35.7 seconds back with 12 to go. So again, we're going to keep an eye on that. See where PJ's riding out there?
Yeah.
He's actually looking for some damp patches, and him and JD both getting really loose. Let's see if both of them go around the outside of this patch like they had the lap before. So the better grip right now is to the outside of that patch, obviously. And we'll look a little further back, and Corey Alexander now is all over the back of Jake Gagne as they get ready to come onto this front straight.
Going to complete another lap. It'll be 11 laps to go in Medallia Superbike race number 2 from NJMP. And that BMW is a fast one, and Corey Alexander takes advantage of a superior drive and horsepower on the front straightaway and makes the pass into third, and already puts a little bit of space between himself and Gagne. And yes, Jason, I agree with you. Just looking at that tail away shot, we call it in TV, of Gagne's body position, he's not looking that comfortable.
But how about JD Beach? How comfortable does he look? I mean, we're talking 3 Superbike races in for JD Beach here, and he's right there challenging now with PJ Jacobsen. Now we have 11 laps to go, and all that's going to happen, Greg, is these tires are going to continue to degenerate as they go. Now you can see here, he's off to the left-hand side of the screen as PJ, and the reason for that, as we see Mathew Scholtz has gone down. So he's gone down in turn 1.
That's a big, big off and very fast for Mathew Scholtz. And he looks like he is struggling. As we have a pass for the lead, it's JD Beach going around PJ Jacobsen. So all of a sudden, the fresh and lean progressive Yamaha fill-in rider of JD Beach takes to the point. But we'll see when they come on the straightaway again around that patch. The normal race line is to go right on the inside. And PJ having a hard look. So we come on the straightaway, we'll see what that BMW's legs are like, trying to get a drive out of that rain tire. So we know that for PJ. Oh, sorry, Jay, let's go to look at Scholtz real quick.
Yeah, this is, I told you had to run down the center of the track, and you can see as soon as the bike goes through the water, there's just still enough water on that rear tire that it snaps that slick sideways, Greg, and that's a big one for Mathew. And glad to see, I'm still seeing a waving yellow down there in turn number 1, but let's get back up here to these guys, because JD Beach just looks so comfortable and so confident on that bike right now. And you'd expect a dirt tracker who's just come off a full season of AFT flat tracking to be leading this race. I mean, the bike's going to be moving around a lot underneath him, and there's Mathew.
Looks like he's okay as Stefano Mesa trying to lend a helping hand and get him over the wall. But yeah, Jay, so lap number 5, so a lap ago for JD Beach, he went fastest lap of the race at 134.571, and he backed it up with a 35.6. And that's probably the pace where he's going to feel most comfortable.
Yeah, you can see, I think that the power delivery of the Yamaha 2 is going to be a benefit for him. I think that we've seen PJ struggle with grip on that BMW even in the dry, and he's struggling again right now. I can see when a rider looks back the way PJ did too just now, he's kind of getting a feel of what is actually and who is actually behind him and trying to maintain that gap. Corey Alexander is 4.6 back the last lap through. So for PJ, it's going to be a matter of can he keep the tire underneath him? Because, you know, like I've said, we've seen the tires go out from underneath PJ before in some of these races. And there's the distance between first, second, and third. And then you can see Gagne coming onto the front straightaway as well. So that's the difference in the first 4. Now, how about this? Richie Escalante is battling with Danilo Lewis. We talked about Lewis yesterday, thinking that he was probably going to be up front. He must have had some big problems. He's on a 2023 BMW, Greg, and he's up here battling with the factory guys. He has sandwiched himself between the two M4 Vision Wheel, M4X Vision Wheel Suzukis, and doing a great job.
Yeah, Lewis looking good. Again, it comes down to that tire choice. Hannah, what are you seeing from the 94?
I only spoke with him briefly on Thursday evening, and English is not his first language, but he got the point across. He was hoping for rain. He does not mind mixing it up in these conditions at all, and I'm sure he was very excited to see the forecast yesterday and today once again.
Well, let's see if he does something here down the inside of Escalante into 5 if he has the confidence to. Escalante does a nice job coming out of 4 and closing that line off. Richie struggled a little bit yesterday, didn't he? We're just not used to seeing him that far back. A little bit more comfortable today.
Yeah.
And
looks like both of them are on full reins, meaning a rain front and a rain rear. Where Gagne, who's back in 4th place, that might have been the uncomfortableness. Maybe he's on that slick rear. Where we know JD Beach is on full set of reins. Out front, 1.6 seconds ahead as they get around Alex Arango on his BMW. That's one of the older BMWs. As Danilo Lewis, the number 94 on the Team Brazil BMW, having a great run at it right now in the top 6.
I don't even know. I'm not exactly sure what Danilo Lewis's best Superbike finish would be, but I know that where he's sitting now is definitely the best I've ever seen him do. So now we'll see what he's got for Escalante. And Brandon Posh is right behind these two. As you see Brandon come across the line. So these guys are all battling for 5th, 6th, 7th.
So JD Beach still out front over PJ Jacobson, 2.1 seconds. Corey Alexander has got 6 seconds over Jake Gagne. Escalante 14 back, and that's where that battle was. So how impressive is this young man? JD Beach, of course, Supersport champion. He's been a race winner in Medallia Superbike over his career, and he is just flying right now in these conditions.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is how good the bike still looks, even with the conditions that he's being faced with. And you know these tires are just getting hotter as he goes. But you know, he's going through that puddle now, full lean, because it's dry before it and dry after it.
Jason, for JD Beach to be doing so well at the front is really imperative to the team to get this data in the rain, and he's certainly helping them accrue that right now. You know, talking to them last year, the rain here was kind of a struggle because they really didn't have a lot of rain data. So the weather this weekend has been great for learning. The bike has evolved so much this year, so to continue to build data toward a rain setup, even looking at next year, is really valuable.
Yeah, and make no mistake, even with Jake Gagne having wrapped up the championship, Richard Stamboli and this fresh and lean progressive Yamaha team is looking to the future. And we saw a post earlier this weekend where they were working with center of gravity. So the CG of the bike really important. And here in the rules for Medallia Superbike, you can't adjust the engine in relation to the frame like you can on a MotoGP bike, but you can certainly adjust the front end of the motorcycle and the back end of the motorcycle. And the reason why center of gravity is a talking point, of course, is mechanical grip. And how you get mechanical grip, because as the tires, these Dunlop tires, continue to evolve and increase in grip, JP, a lot of these teams have more power, just like this Tytler Cycle BMW of PJ Jacobson. They have more power than they can get to the ground.
Right.
So it's a matter of how do we get this motorcycle to use the maximum amount of power with the least amount of electronic intrusion. And so that's what the Fresh and Lean Progressive Yamaha team is working on. Go check out their social media and see what they're doing with center of gravity and how they're going to develop it over the course. But the last time by the stripe, JD Beach went 34-2 and nearly came off the bike coming onto the front straightaway a couple of times. So a couple of warnings for JD Beach. Once again, just like Corey Alexander in the full rain setup. So that's rain front, rain rear. And as this track continues to dry, as they continue to put heat in this tire, the tire gets greasier and greasier, slipperier and slipperier, and you lose those big blocks. So the one thing that none of these riders want to see is the skies opening up with 6 laps to go.
No, exactly. And you can still see it's a little bit wet down there into the turn 1 area. So for Corey, he's just doing what he needs to do. He just runs his personal best lap of the race at a 36 flat. The 2 in front of him are still getting away. 34.3 for JD, 35.7 for PJ. So JD's in that area now where he can start to control the race a little bit more with a 4+ second lead over PJ. So, but for Corey Alexander, you know, listen, he put it on the podium yesterday, and he probably did it in the fashion that he didn't want to do it, knowing that his teammate actually finished ahead of him up there in second, and then there was a penalty afterwards. A podium's a podium, but this is going to feel a lot nicer if Corey can keep the ship steadied here with 6 laps to go. And, you know, this is going to be a very legit podium. As you can see the gap now that he's pulled out over Jake Gagne. Jake just didn't look comfortable from pretty much the start. I could see the bike moving around underneath him a little bit, and that's all it takes sometimes, Greg, to just get that just a little bit uncomfortable feeling. And wrapped up our championship 2 rounds ago, so you know this guy wants to win, but today just isn't going to be the day.
And we're looking to confirm the tire choice for him. So it looks like he's on a rain front.
Yeah, he's on rain both. For sure, rain front, rain rear. Yeah, I don't think that...
oh, yeah, he is, yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't have taken that big a chance. And there's no way, I don't feel, Greg, that he would have been able to go the pace he was going early on if he'd have had a slick on the back.
Of course, Gagne, a unique person in his own right. One of the most focused riders I've seen in terms of he's focused on his own program, running his own life, enjoying it the way he wants to enjoy it. And he really loves competition. And when word came about that Cameron Beaubier was going to be back in the U.S. on a Tytler Cycles BMW, the first thing that Jake Gagne did was smile about it because he likes Cameron Beaubier and he likes the competition. And sitting on 11 wins this season for Gagne with the potential of 12 here. It's not looking likely at this point, Jay, as he hasn't looked as comfortable as yesterday. He's had a great season holding on to that #1 plate. As for this guy,
he looks a lot more comfortable today, doesn't he?
I mean, what a change from the entire weekend. When I talked to Richie this morning, the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki rider, I just asked him, how was yesterday? He took full responsibility and said, you know what, it's all me. Wasn't comfortable, bike's good. We'll continue to make some changes to this bike to make it even better. But that's it, he told me straight up, I'll do better today. As for Brandon Posh, the local rider, who jumped on this bike mid-season, what can you say about his performances, Jay?
Amazing. I mean, really, really nice to see. Seen Brandon struggle a lot through the years, bouncing around from not only team to team, but country to country, going over and doing some BSB stuff. So for Brandon, I really like this, especially at his home track. I hope to see him on a Superbike again next year. I don't know if his plans have been confirmed, but if he gets to stay with this team, I think we'll just continue to see him improve.
For Brandon Posh, he really enjoys the challenge of riding in the rain. He's got a lot of experience throughout his career, as you mentioned, but he hasn't ridden a Superbike in these conditions, so it was really difficult to adapt early on in the weekend. He was definitely over-riding the big bike a bit, but he's looking forward to the off-season to really hone in on his fitness and get his strength back. Don't forget, it's only been 5.5 months since he broke his back. But yeah, really good performance by Brandon Posh today.
And we do know that Richie Escalante has re-signed with the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki team, so he's definitely got to be back for next season. And we hear that they're close if they haven't done a deal already with Brandon Posh. So in terms of silly season, you look at the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki team, Jay, they're pretty buttoned up with Richie Escalante, Brandon Posh right there, and of course Ty Scott coming back on the Supersport program. The rumors about what this team and these riders are going to do this season are pretty much over. And I love the fact that they get them buttoned up because for Richie Escalante, he's now a couple seasons in on the Superbike, coming from being a Supersport champion and having an epic season with Sean Dillon Kelly in a battle of titans, of champions for Supersport. And of course, as Hannah mentioned, that fitness, you have to train a little different to go fast on a Medallia Superbike. Here's another battle for 8th place, Jay.
Yeah, really good to see Nolan Lampkin up here battling with Bobby Fong. So for Nolan, I think he won the Superbike Cup this year, and he's been coming to these races on his stock 1000 BMW. For Bobby, just hasn't had quite the weekend that we know that we're used to seeing him have. He's had some incredible Superbike rides since he took over that ride for Dave Anthony on that Wrench R1. For Nolan Lampkin here, he's rolling around in 9th place. He just got by Ashton. You're going to see Ashton flash in the back of your screen there a lap or so ago. So for these two now, they're battling for 8th place. They are they're a long way behind Danilo Lewis, who's up the road quite a bit in 7th. For Ashton Yates, Greg, how would you judge his year? I think he's had an incredible year on this BMW as well. We've seen him put in some solid rides, even the last race at COTA. Really good run from Ashton Yates there.
Yeah, I definitely hope to see Ashton continue on in the Medallia Superbike class, whether it's with the Aftercare Scheibe BMW team or not. But he definitely has made big strides over the course of the season as Nolan Lampkin gets around Bobby Fong. So the Tom Wood Power Sports BMW, the stock 1000 machine. For the moment, we'll see what this R1 full-blown Superbike has for a stock 1000 BMW as they come onto the front straightaway.
Nolan's still rolling through that patch too, so he didn't get the memo maybe, I guess. The leaders were going around it, but good for Nolan as he's going to be able to hold Bobby off down that front straightaway, and those two guys will continue their battle all the way to the finish. Looks like Nolan's just starting to gap him though a little bit here.
And yeah, if you're just joining us, that was the Westbeat number 11 bike that was in the grass in turn number 1. For Mathew Scholtz, he and his team rolled the dice, started on slicks on a track that's got some massive wet patches in it, and unfortunately didn't pay off.
How stoked is JD Beach going to be in 2 laps if he can just keep this thing where it's at right now?
Yeah, he's going to be over the moon.
I mean, you think about this guy. He goes in and wins dirt track nationals, then he gets the call to maybe come back and do a couple Superbike rounds. And he's here at Jersey with about a lap and a half to go. Looking really comfortable. 35.8 that last time by. He's got a 7.1 second lead. This guy just knows how to win races. You know, I said it yesterday, talking with Jake Zemke a little bit. Jake says, you know, JD's a racer. He's a Sunday guy. He's that guy that, you know, he might look a little tentative or whatever he did to me on Friday, But look at him now on Sunday in tricky conditions. This guy just brings it.
Additionally, his Estenson Racing Yamaha team, they're here this weekend. They rolled that semi here as they support Dallas Daniels in the Revit Twins Cup category. And so he was able to reconnect with his own team as well. I mean, that team's based in Owensboro, Kentucky anyway, with Tommy Hayden leading the charge on that one, and JD Beach lives close by. But still, it was nice to see. Oh, Nolan Lampkin. Is that the spot where he didn't get the memo?
You know, it could be. It could be the spot. So we'll have to see here as he's trying to get the bike up.
That's tough when it's wet, too. Trying to get some traction.
It's the spot, Greg.
It is the spot?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's the turn 10.
Yeah, it is. I can see from the tower.
The gremlin there. As this guy's coming around to the white flag now for JD Beach. And you're right. It's great having the whole Estenson Racing team here. It's good to see Dallas Daniels as he's still getting it loose off the last corner.
Yeah, you better be waving to everybody like my bad. White flag out for JD Beach on the Fresh and Lean Progressive Yamaha. Can he make it one more lap and snatch victory? PJ Jacobsen has had a very solid, lonely ride, though, back there in second place. And it looked like Nolan Lampkin was able to get up and run. I saw him.
He did.
His bike coming across the stripe back there. And Corey Alexander has come across the line in third place.
He must have had another little mini moment because he's shaking his head. You see JD shaking his head there a little bit.
And JD, is there any slowdown in you? Just a little bit. You're good. You got 7 seconds.
It's either that or he's yelling at himself still for what he did coming onto the front straightaway. So, or he just can't believe he's going to win. But I think all of us in the paddock know that this guy's more than capable of winning on any weekend.
JD Beach filling in for Cameron Peterson, who's here. It'll probably be one of the first people to meet him in winner's circle is Cam P, who's still recovering from surgery after his injury-riddled season. But JD Beach getting the call to come race, to fill in for Cameron Peterson. And could Yamaha and the Fresh and Lean Progressive team ask for anything more from this rider who lives in Kentucky? One of the most likable riders. He's got one more corner. His foot's come off the peg a couple times. Maybe roll out of it just a smidge.
He's pumped.
Yeah, he's getting it done. So one more corner to go for JD Beach. Stands it upright on the gas. And Jiggy Dog all the way to the checkered flag will take the win. The final of the season. Here comes the Tyler Cycles BMW 99 PJ Jacobsen in second. And what a ride for Corey Alexander, who raced his way from the middle part of the grid and able to back up his podium in crazy conditions. And for that team to have two riders, the Tyler Cycles team, on the podium, what a run for them. And a pair of Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzukis as Jake Gagne goes across the stripe. It'll be Escalante gets beaten by Brandon Posh. Posh goes 5, Escalante goes 6. So congratulations as Gabriel Da Silva in 11th place congratulates a rider in disbelief, JD Beach. This is a strong argument for any team in this paddock to look at JD Beach and say, can we get him back? He is not a done deal for next year.
Yeah, no, there's no question. This guy, I think he never really wanted to leave road racing, but he's such a talented dirt tracker as well. And that was an option for him. And he just wants to be on a motorcycle racing, and love to see JD Beach back here for sure.
And he deserves this very slow cool down lap. And there's Mathew Scholtz going to get his bike, and you can see the tears coming off of JD Beach. The advantage we have of these conditions with those clear visors. And it looks, thank goodness, that Mathew Scholtz is going to head off into the off season. He looks relatively healthy. Danilo Lewis giving congratulations to JD. So it's JD Beach, PJ Jacobsen, and Corey Alexander. When we come back, we're going to talk to these riders. We're going to see how JD Beach feels about his big W.
The championship had already been decided. Everybody was wondering what will be the storyline coming out of this final race. And now, I think the only word that really fits here, Roger, is wow. What a story.
Just incredible for JD. I mean, going flat tracking this year. The TTs went really well, but struggled a little bit at some of the other tracks. So what necessarily on the TTs was great, but I think some of the other tracks he would have liked to have been better. And you just can't believe what's happening. You can just see the last lap, him shaking his head. And it's awesome to see JD have this success because he does live, as they mentioned, close to where I live, and I get to see JD every single day putting in the work, you know, every day, just working hard, and, you know, that hard work pays off.
Absolutely, and for P.J. Jacobson, not where he wants to finish, but, you know, pole the last 2 years here, and really, really competitive today, doing a great job there. And, you know, we heard him earlier when we were talking with him when Josh was up here, Josh Hayes was up here, and, you know, he's not exactly sure what his deal is for next year yet. And look at that, J.D. Beach. Just an incredible story that's unfolding. And how about Corey Alexander? Back-to-back podiums to wrap up the season. Couldn't come at a better time.
Couldn't come at a better time, and also to a better guy.
Yeah.
You know, that's after the year that he's had this year. He deserves these double podiums. He puts so much into getting here and just putting, you know, things together. And it's great to see him. You could just see what it meant yesterday, and then him coming across the start-finish line today. Just how cool it was to see him get that. And PJ saying, "Hey, I was trying my best. I was just moving around, you know, a little too much." And you know, great year by PJ this year. Superbike winner now. Just was really, really solid.
Yeah, I mean, his speed is unquestioned. When he had that opportunity to duel with Jake and at Brainerd, you know, hustled him all race in race 1, then just outright out-dueled him in race 2. No question there. Corey, Jake Gagne, uncharacteristically off the podium and a ways back at that. Just as we heard Greg and Jason say, he just didn't look comfortable at all. And late in the race, Brandon Posh getting around on Richie Escalante as well. So Brandon went from 7th to 5th right near the end of that race. But look at this moment as J.D. Beach comes in and just still shaking his head. And look at Richie Stamboli there going, "Great job, my man." That is what you call a fill-in rider, Roger.
And it's also great for that side of the team to get to celebrate a win. Jake's side gets to celebrate a lot. Now that side got the feeling.
It's a really good point, man. He repaid a lot of effort right there for sure. What a story here in Superbike.
J.D. Beach getting congratulated as he comes through the hot pit lane, and there's his boy, Hayden Gillum. Huge congratulations. Those two have known each other a long time. What you didn't see was his Essenson crew too was there, and they congratulated him as he rolls in with his weekend team, Fresh and Lean Progressive Yamaha. And his crew so excited about that victory. Let's take a look at these results, JP. 5 seconds for P.J. Jacobson behind J.D. Beach. Corey Alexander, what a backup that is. Kind of makes you think, 2023 bike, what would have happened all year? Yeah. Jake Gagne, Brandon Posh just ahead of Richie Escalante by a couple tenths. And then Danilo Lewis, what a great run for him.
Really good.
He was in that mix, but he ends up in 7th place. And awesome for his first go at that BMW M1000RR. Let's get down to Hannah with a happy 95.
I mean, J.D. Beach has always got a smile on his face, but it's safe to say that this one was definitely hard-earned. What an incredible return to road racing for J.D., finishing off this fill-in ride with a victory. J.D., did you expect to follow up yesterday's performance with a win?
If you would have asked me after the first practice on Friday, I would have been happy with a top 5. I mean, this is just amazing to come back. I mean, I've been racing Superbike in 4 years, and I mean, I feel like I'm riding better than I did in 2019, and God, to get a win. I mean, when I got the win back then, it was so great, but after the end of the year, I only had one win. I was like, I don't want to be the guy that just gets one win. And then I went dirt tracking, and to come back and to get a win in dirt track this year, and then come to get a win on a super bike is, dude, man, it's just amazing. And the whole attack team just worked so hard this weekend. My Essenson dirt track team, they let me come and do this, and all the great fans sticking it out with all this rain and stuff. I mean, this is just amazing. I couldn't have made this year up. I mean, it just feels so amazing.
Congratulations to J.D. Beach. The fans are cheering loud, and it is not hard to root for him. Second place today goes to P.J. Jacobson. P.J., after yesterday, I know this is perhaps not the win you were looking for to end the season with, but are you happy with this performance?
Yeah, you know, it was really rough out there, to be honest. Like, I had the lead and stuff, and the grip was just so hard to maintain. I mean, I was like all over my electronics and stuff. And yeah, it was just really hard, and I started like losing the rear like so much, and then I was searching for water, and it was kind of making it worse. So once JD got past me, it was like really hard to stay with him, and I didn't want him to go, but it was just a little bit too risky for me without like, you know, high siding on corner entry was my big problem. So yeah, I'm pretty happy enough with this performance. And then yesterday I was just really mad about, so it's kind of a joke for me. And it's really good that Corey's back in the box, and we have 2 Tyler Cycle Racing BMWs up here to finish the season pretty strong.
Finishing the season on a high note for PJ Jacobsen and Corey Alexander backing up his first Superbike podium with his second, another third-place performance today. And you worked really hard for this one. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, I knew I had to get a really good start and be aggressive on that first lap to not lose those front guys. Honestly, I didn't know what that race was going to end up being like, and I was kind of just waiting for the guys on slicks to come up and catch us, but it seemed like maybe that wasn't the gamble that paid off, and thankfully we stuck with the reins. Super stoked to be up here with PJ. Yesterday was obviously amazing for me, but a bummer for the team that had to go down that way, and this is great redemption to have us both up here second and third. I don't know. I want to keep on going. The year's over now, but we're happy enough to end it off this way. Thanks to all my personal sponsors, Arai, Alpine Stars, Prestige Services Group, Anytime Fitness, Ossining, Chuckwalla Raceway, Senna, JLS Mechanical, all the fans out here that stuck out. It's dry now at least, and thanks everybody. Really appreciate it. My guys, my mechanics, DJ, Tim, Steve, Richie, Kalen, Leif, just everyone on the whole Tyler Cycle Racing team, Dave and Michael Kiley. It's been a special year to be able to ride this Superbike, and hopefully it's not the last time.
A pair of third-place finishes on the weekend for Corey Alexander, guys.
And really, Jay, if you look at it, the way that MotoAmerica is designed, the stock 1000 champion does good in Medallia Superbike. Our coverage continues on the other side of this break.
And now it's going to be podium celebration time. There's Tony Romo from Dunlop. And, you know, I said this earlier. I have marveled at everything that Dunlop has been dealt at this year and what they've been able to do with these tires. You know, you start off with going to 2 tracks that were recently repaved and, you know, coming in, getting minimal testing time and bringing the right tires to deal with it. 110 degrees and 130 track temp at Coda, and not a problem. And then here with this, pretty remarkable what we've seen from Dunlop.
Yeah, pretty remarkable. You talk about how hot it was at Coda. They also broke the outright track record there and in that heat. So it just shows you, you know, what they've done. And then, you know, the pace that these guys were able to, we know how good the slick is, but the pace that these guys were able to hold in the Superbike during that whole race in the rain with the front straightaway drying. And, you know, when we first went into this race, me and you looked at the front straightaway, and it looked like it was dry. And we're thinking, well, you have to go with slicks. And then when those guys did their warm-up lap, and we're seeing all the spray, we're like, man, you better hope they win on the wet. So it just shows you how you have to really do your homework, and it's up to the rider really has to tell his team when he does that first lap, hey, you know, you got to just always – it's just all these little things just add up.
Well, and it's really one of those things where, you know, I mean, you could look at data, you could do all this stuff, but basically whatever gives the rider confidence is what's going to be the right way to go, isn't it?
Yeah.
Simple.
And the thing is, like I said, giving that right feedback, and that's hard to do, especially for young. I think that's why you see a lot of guys with coaches now and people working with other riders, because they've been through this before, and they can go and tell you, hey, you should do this, and then you have that in your toolbox. So there's just so much to learn, and the experience, the teams, you know, like attack. I mean, just the So the other guys took the gamble, and, you know, you can't blame it. Could have paid off. You know, we could have sat here, and those 2 guys could have possibly could have went the other way.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, Scholtz was starting to show some really quick times and just got it a little wrong going down into that first turn. And we found out that Josh Herron was on a really hard rear, and that may have contributed as well. But, you know, track kept drying. Who knows if they've been able to stay upright. But we just saw Jake Gagne up there on that celebratory podium, obviously because he's the class champ. And well-earned this year. There he is. But you know, we saw when JD made the podium at COTA, and Jake was so happy for him, he almost knocked him off the bike, giving the high fives as they were coming along. And this is so cool here to see. I mean, JD Beach, a class act, and this was so well earned in these conditions.
And 4 different Superbike winners this year that I can count. Am I missing anyone? PJ Herron.
Yeah.
Gagne, of course. JD.
Yeah. I mean, it's been.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
been
that's
a great season. Beaubier, yeah.
5.
Yeah, that's 5 right there. So
see how quick you get forgotten in racing. You know, you set out a couple races and we forget.
It's a brutal crowd here, folks. No question about it. All right, more to cover here from the Medallia Superbike Championship.
Medallia Superbike coverage is brought to you by Medallia, the pioneer in customer and employee experience. By Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. And by Geico Motorcycle. Visit geico.com to see how easy covering your ride can be.
I'm feeling sentimental, Jason. Already missed racing, so let's go back and look at race 2.
Let's look at these highlights. PJ Jacobsen led the way over Gagne and JD Beach with Corey Alexander. Those 4 would separate themselves really early from everybody else, but it was JD Beach on the move, wasn't it? He started to go forward, as did Corey, as he got past Gagne. But JD Beach slides up underneath PJ Jacobsen as they come up through 7, 8, 9. And after a couple moments out of that last corner, it's going to be JD Beach coming back with a very, very popular win today.
Yeah, extremely popular. Great rider. So at the end of the day, the end of the season, 420 points earned for Jake Gagne. Josh Herron holds on to his second place position, just 5 points ahead of PJ Jacobsen. Mathew Scholtz in 4th, and Richie Escalante, a good solid year for him, back in 5th place with Cameron Beaubier, who had to retire early, and a good launch up the leaderboard for Corey Alexander, who ends off the season with a strong 40-point performance, 2 second-place finishes. Well, our coverage will continue here at New Jersey Motorsports Park as the season is over, but not our coverage, so stick around.
Well, the stories just keep on coming here at New Jersey Motorsports Park. We've had everything from weather to accomplishments on the track to issues. It has been something else. And, you know, it's a fascinating way to end a season of competition here at one of the most challenging venues in terms of grip in general. And then you add in the weather that we've been dealing with. And, you know, people have just come through, dug deep, and found it here. And it's been pretty special.
It's been special, and it's just been an awesome weekend. Some championships have been crowned. We still got one more to go, and just all the hurdles all these guys have had to face this week with the ever-changing conditions. We had wet to dry. I mean, they got a little bit of everything this weekend, and it was fun to see these guys adapt and who adapted better.
Absolutely, and the interesting thing was the first qualifying was in the absolute dry, and they were flying, and it had absolutely no relevance to what the track was going to be like when they're racing. And so we ended up, even with a wet qualifying after a dry qualifying, really exciting stuff there because they had to push to figure out what was going on with the track, and those that did that best showed it in the races.
And I think the teams that have a little bit of data in the wet, it helped those guys. Or if you've been on the bike before, a little bit of wet riding and some of the local guys knowing the track where it was slick, how that helped them as well. But it's just been, it's kind of been the story all year, just kind of the unknown. There's been so many different storylines this year, and this weekend has just been awesome to see some guys get their first wins. We've seen some guys get their first championship or, you know, this year, and then also some of their first podiums in classes. So it's it's been great to see.
It really has. And, you look at Supersport, where yesterday we saw Kaylee Yakov in only her second event ever on a Supersport bike come from 13th to the podium. Today, she backs it up with a 13th to 4th. And then Corey Alexander today going from 13th to the podium 2 days in a row. Incredible way to finish up the season.
Yeah, and for Corey, tough year. And that just shows you right there, never give up. You just keep trying, you keep digging. And, he could have gave up mid-season and showed up here and just tried to cruise in until the end of the year, but came here and finished out the year really strong. And then also this weekend's been kind of exciting with the rumor mill of riders changing teams, and then also riders coming over possibly. So it's been interesting weekend so far.
Well, I think that speaks incredibly highly of where MotoAmerica itself has continued to evolve. That now on a global level, it is even more recognized. We hear more and more often about the numbers of people that are watching us here on MotoAmerica Live Plus from Europe while these races are going on, and the number of rumored riders who want now to come over here and race here. And we have Xavi comes over. He wants to stay. He's enjoying what's going on here.
And like you said, it just shows you the growth of the series, right, and where it's at. There's a lot of guys wanting to come over and race, but there's not enough seats. So those guys want to come over, and we got some competitive riders here. But it's only gonna, I think it pushes MotoAmerica more. We have a guy like Xavi come over. We had Petrucci, Baz, and our riders see where we stack up, and it's going to be interesting to see who comes here next year, even in the Superbike class. Yeah, no question about that. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. And I do have to say, Roger, it has been an absolute delight to spend a whole year alongside this guy. Your expertise and what you've taught me alone has been an absolute joy. It's been a pleasure. So, again, thank you, my friend. And we'll be back with more here from New Jersey Motorsports Park.
Postseason celebrations happening as the top three in the championship and the team winner getting awarded. And the number one plate goes to Jake Gagne. He's got a nice guitar from Dunlop. This is stuff that you would normally see if you're here, but since you're watching it on your television screen or your third screen or whatever. So you have Josh Herrin in second place. On the other side is PJ Jacobsen, but all the glory goes to Jake Gagne and his team as he's got a number one plate and the season-ending number one trophy. And Jason Pridmore, let's start talking about Jake Gagne really in history of road racing. I mean, in a couple of short years, he's made a name for himself. The one thing that people don't remember is he only started winning Superbike races in 2021, and that first season he won 17 of them. Now he's up to 40. It's incredible when you see the run he's gone through. And if there's a guy that you can look at and say that you're never going to give up, it's going to be Jake Gagne, from where he's come from to where he's been the last 3 years. And Hannah's with him right now.
An incredible year for Jake Gagne, and you just finally got to have your moment, top step of the podium for the third year in a row overall on this season. Final thoughts?
Yeah, incredible season. Learned a lot. This Yamaha Tech Performance bike is just amazing. Pleasure to ride, and consistency really paid off this year. Obviously, everybody really stepped it up. There's some good racing, and yeah, I'm psyched for next year. Again, thanks to all the team, the sponsors, MotoAmerica, the fans, packing all these tracks throughout the year, and yeah, just really stoked to be here and looking forward to next year.
You certainly know what it takes to win a championship, 3 in a row at that, but do you know what it takes to win 4?
Well, I hope so. We'll find out. I know every year's really getting tougher and tougher. Everybody's stepping it up, and so just do my best. Ride my butt off. I got the best team, best crew, best people around me to get it done, and the best machine. So, yeah, looking forward to it, and we'll have some fun.
Big congratulations to the Progressive Attack Yamaha team and Jake Gagne, guys.
Yeah, and Jason, in terms of talent, there's no question that Jake Gagne has got heaps of talent. And now, when you're putting it all together, could he go 4 in a row? He could. This guy would be a big problem if they come back and go another second year on that Warhorse Ducati there for Josh Herrin. I thought he had a tremendous year in himself. And PJ Jacobsen, too. I mean, all 3 of these riders had really good years. Got a spare thought for Cameron Beaubier as well. Hope he gets better and be back next season as well. Yeah, you got to look at it. Josh Herrin in his rookie season on that bike, and of course that newer motorcycle for the V4R and the BMW M1000 RR. They're going to have all kinds of data. So if those 2 teams come back with those 2 riders, they're definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with. Well, that is our 2023 Medallia Superbike season done and dusted, and we got it done here at New Jersey Motorsports Park. We certainly hope you enjoyed our 20 race coverage over the course of this year. It certainly was fun bringing it to you. For Hanalopa, Jason Pridmore, and our entire MotoAmerica crew, we certainly appreciate you checking it out. We cannot wait to see you again in 2024.
What a remarkable podium that was, and yet we